All right. Welcome back to Spirit Sherpa. I'm your host, Kelle Sparta, transformational shaman, spiritual coach. And I am here, as always, with Joshua Radewan, my co host. And I just stole his thunder by doing the intro because I was doing it for so long with the people I was interviewing while he's been on walkabout. So, hi.
Hey, I think that was a wonderful little switcheroo, and you have danced with the thunder beings, so I don't feel like you're stealing my thunder at all.
That's very sweet and adorable. All right. So we're back to doing episodes based on Elizabeth's suggestions. So if you guys are out there and you have things that you would like to hear us talk about, send in a list, because as you can tell, we hear, we respond, and we do actually create the episodes. Now there's a little lag because we're recording a little bit ahead, but we do get to them. So Elizabeth, once more, thank you for the episode idea. And her request is, she said she really loved the episode with Jules where she talked about making intentional jam. She was making jam from her garden, from the berries in her garden. And so she asked for more ideas on how to be intentional in your everyday life. And so, one of the things when we talked about meditation and presence practice and stillness in a couple of episodes ago, we did not cover mindfulness. And this is mindfulness. This is a mindfulness practice, right? And so what is the difference between meditation, presence practice, stillness, and mindfulness? Well, mindfulness isn't about filling the mind or about focusing the thoughts. It's about being present to what you're doing and being conscious about it. So we have a regular everyday experience of life, and then we have our observer mind. And our observer mind is the part of us that watches us do things, right? So you're most often this happens when you're like exploding in a rage and your brain's going, this is probably going to suck later, right? You're sitting there going, and your brain's going, probably not our best choice, but your experience is going, sure, I'm upset, right? But we often have that experience, or where you did something or said something, and your inner mind is going, oh God, did I really just say that? I just said that. Didn't I say that? Yes, I did. The I'm humiliating myself, or all the social anxiety or anything else. That's the observer mind, in judgment. Right. And so the observer mind is not always in judgment. In fact, it shouldn't be in judgment. It should be in a state of observing. Okay. Your observer mind is actually your experiential self. Okay. And your experience, the part of you that is experiencing things. So we have duality and we have experience level of existence, right? And so the duality level of existence is the part of you that you think of as interacting with the world every day. Your observer mind is your experiential self, looking at the world through an experiential lens. Okay. So when you think your observer mind is judging you, it's not actually your observer mind that's judging you. Your observer mind is noticing, and then your duality mind is judging, right? So that's not the same thing. So when we're in our observer mind, we are in our mindful state, right? So mindfulness is about being in the experience, but also being in the experience in an experiential state, not in a duality state of us versus me being separate from you being separate from you, but just being in the, I am in a, it's not exactly a flow state. It's a embodied state, right? A beingness. It is a beingness state. And so when we approach our lives in a mindfulness state, we are in a position to create ritual out of everyday experiences. And so getting in the shower every morning could be clearing your energy field if you just intend it to be. You get in the shower, you're like, whoosh, wash away everything in the energy field that doesn't belong. Super easy state of being to be in, just simply conscious of the fact that you're there, right? And intending for that to be the outcome of your experience. right? So it's a combination of being present and intent and creating an intention for the space. So, she gave several examples of things that she wanted to talk about. So, like, one of the things she said was laundry. I love the idea of laundry because now you can put an intention into the water in the laundry and have it infuse your clothing with protection if you wanted to, or with energy clearing if you want to, or with extra energy if you want to. There's all sorts of ways to do it, right? Or to have the water represent the clearing of your energy field on a regular basis and have that infuse your clothing with that. You could do that. Now, then if you're going to use it for clearing, you got to be careful about what you do with the clothing because you've got to figure out where the energy goes if you're clearing it, right? Because if it's gathering in your clothing, you may not want to wear that piece a second time, right? And you may not want to touch it when you're done, right? It's one of those things. So, this is again where magic can have unintended consequences. So choose wisely on that one, right? But also let's see, what else did she suggest here? Oh, making the bed. Well, so making the bed, if you're doing a conscious making the bed, you could actually infuse your bed with good sleep, with relaxation, with quiet, with peace and calm. There's all sorts of ways to infuse your bed as you're making your bed, right? And cooking. Cooking is a classic one. Kitchen witchery is a big one, right? If you've ever watched the movie Like Water for Chocolate or Chocolat, which is the U.S. version of it, not as good as Like Water for Chocolate, but Like Water for Chocolate was a Spanish language movie. I don't remember whether it was out of Spain or Mexico. It feels like it was out of Mexico, but I'm not sure. But that's all about infusing your emotions into your food and sharing those with the people who are consuming the food, right? And so that's another possibility is to infuse your food with love, right? Hopefully love, right?
Love.
Yeah. And then eating. Eating is a mindfulness exercise if you're paying attention to your food. There's a practice in usually around Samhain, right? So around Halloween, which is when the veil is thinnest between the worlds, of having a dumb supper. And a dumb supper means that you're all eating together, but nobody is speaking. And so the idea is that the food is meant to be a mindfulness exercise at that time because you're taking in food, so your ancestors are supposed to come to visit, right? So you invite your ancestors in and then you eat mindfully so that they can recall having the experience of being on this plate and enjoying the food, right? And so you're being present so that they can share the experience, right? And just so that you can have the experience, right? It's just that moment. And drinking water or tea or anything else, right? So obviously alcoholic beverages are going to alter you. So we're not going to be talking about that, but water or, whatever it is that you're drinking, you can infuse your water. And some people do that with crystals and some people be careful with the crystals because some crystals are salt-based like citrate is a salt-based crystal, which means it'll dissolve in water and you're drinking the salt and the dissolved crystal, which may have impurities and all sorts of stuff. So be careful with your crystals, right? But what is the name of it? Like The Energy of Water is the name of the book, I think, by Masaki Mikoto, or don't ask me. I'm terrible with names. So the idea is that he did this research. He was a researcher in Japan, and he did this research on water and how intention changes the structure of water. And so water is very malleable intention-wise. So you can put all kinds of different intentions into your water and then you consume them. And that becomes what you're doing, right?
That's one of the things I've been doing with moon water lately is I speak my intentions into it beforehand. And I use the energy of that moon. And what it, like for example, like the strawberry moon being about, love, just speaking love into it. I mean, and this is a reminder that I haven't done it for a while, so that's perfect on time. But I was speaking into every bottle of water I had, every container of water, and just speaking love because of that the energy of water lesson right there. Like there's been a lot of slides that shows the vibrational change in water based on what you're speaking into it. So and I will speak to the absolute validity to this process, because it has worked wonders. Moon water in general is just a fantastic thing to work with, and it's really a great beginner's, something that you can do as a beginner too. Yesterday was the new moon.
And moon water is just simply using the energy of the moon by having the water out underneath the moon with your intention in it and letting it sit in the moonlight, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, great. So some other things she suggested was getting dressed. And yes, you can use the energy of mindfulness in getting dressed. You can pick your clothing mindfully, right? And how does it make you feel? Which clothing makes you feel different ways, right? And like this morning, I noticed that I dressed in all black, and then I threw this shawl over at the last second to come on here. But I dressed in all black, and I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. This is what I picked all the way down to my underwear. I'm all in black, right? And I'm like, huh, fascinating. And I'm like, okay, so if I'm all in black, I must be feeling the need for protection. Why is that? Right? So that's a mindfulness thing that you can do. This is in response, right? It's like, oh, I picked all black, and I don't do that usually. Now, to be fair, in Panama, it's hard to find clothes, and most of the clothes that I find are black. And so I dress more in black than I would normally do because it's hard to find the clothes here. But when it's all the way down to the underwear and everything, I'm like, huh, okay, that's a mindfulness state, is to notice. That's a noticing state. Like, fascinating, right? But you could also say, I'm feeling under attack, so I'm going to put black on to protect me, right? I'm going to wear a turquoise necklace to protect me. I'm going to wear onyx to protect me, right? I'm going to wear an essential oil that I've charged with that intention to protect me, or whatever. And you can do this for a variety of different states, right? So you can dress with intention in that way. And then, gardening. I love the gardening one. So gardening is fantastic because you're planting your intentions and allowing them to physically grow. And therefore, now what you have to remember is that your intentions, if you plant them with a plant, your intentions will not grow faster than the plant. If you've tied the intentions to the plant, then that's going to be how fast they come to fruition, right? So if you're looking to manifest something quickly, don't do that in your garden, right? But if you're looking to nurture something that takes time to evolve, so like if you were starting a business or something like that, starting a new career or something like that, that would be a good thing to plant with your intentions. However, I would start with a plant that's already going rather than a plant from a seed, because not all seeds germinate, right? And if you're going to do from seed, I would start with a bunch of seeds and tie the intention to all of the seeds, and with the intention that whichever ones take grow, and that all the intention goes into the one that survived, not the ones that died, right? Because you got to be careful about the unintended consequences there, right? So, and if the plant dies, well, then you better pull the intention out of it and, redo, right? But yes, you can do it with gardening, and that's a good way to nurture something long term, right? Yeah. So the attending a Zoom meeting, that's interesting. Can you create intention for attending a Zoom meeting? You absolutely can. If you are running the meeting, you can actually create an entire circle of energetics for holding the breath on the meeting. And that will allow you to do that whole process, right? If you are an attendee, you can set an intention for yourself for the meeting and say, this is the experience I'm going to have on this call, and set that intention for yourself. If it's not your meeting, you don't have the ethical ability to set the intention of the whole group, right? So be careful about overstepping your bounds there. And then driving, yes, you can do it while driving. So we did a time shift episode at one point way back. And, that's where I use it most for driving is like, I want to get someplace faster than I'm supposed to. I'm going to tesseract it, right? I'm going to wrinkle in time in it, right? And I'm going to get there faster. But, there are certain ways to do that. So you'll have to listen to that episode to learn that. But yes, that's an intention you can set there for driving. You can set an intention for a safe journey, a little bubble around your car, right? There's lots of things you can do while driving. And a lot of it is going to depend upon your ability to be present to that as you're getting into the car. So you don't want to be doing it once you're up and running and driving. It's often too much attention to pull away from things, right? So, yeah. Now, grocery shopping is another way she gave, which I love because there's an example that I have given, an assignment I have given to people over the years. And Kathy pointed this out to me the other day. I've given an assignment that is, you have to go to the grocery store and you have to do your entire normal week's weekly shopping, not a mini shop, normal week's weekly shopping without ever touching anything in the store and not touching it until you get home. And so, that means you have to ask for help. So every item you have to ask somebody to get it off the shelf for you. Every item you have, when you go to unload onto the conveyor belt, you have to ask somebody to do that for you. You have to ask somebody to bag up your stuff if they don't have baggers, and you have to ask somebody to take it and put it in your car. It is a practice in asking for help. And recently, Jeff, my husband's back has been out. The dogs have been down because they've both gotten fixed, and then I slipped and fell and was immobile for 3 weeks. And so it has been a practice of asking for help from the community. And I'm like, okay, could you get me this? And could you do that? And could you take me here? And could you, at one point he was also dealing with carpal tunnel. And so at one point his arms got numb as he was driving home and he couldn't do the stick shift. And so I called friends and said, hey, do you drive a stick? And they're like, yeah. I said, can you go pick him up and drive him the car home? And they're like, yeah, we got you. So, all of this stuff is just a practice of asking for help, right? And so that's a mindfulness practice unto itself, one which a lot of us have a hard time with. Oh, I love the grocery shopping one. Thank you for being psychic on that one, Elizabeth. Great job. Yeah. And so, these are all different ways to bring mindfulness into your everyday practice. So, part of this, we are so involved in our screens and doom scrolling. And all of this stuff, I will tell you personally, all of this stuff was easier 25 years ago. Before the invention of smartphones, before we were so computer dependent for everything. We were not as distractible. And part of mindfulness is about attention span. And we are short attention span theater. And so the more you can extend your attention span, the more mindful you can be in your everyday life. And that is its own reward, because you can't be conscious without being mindful. If you're not present, you're not conscious. You are literally drifting. And we have talked before about the Napoleon Hill book that just came out in 2012, I think. It came out really late since he was long dead by then. And it was called Outwitting the Devil. And if you want to have something shake you upright about your drifting, that book will do it. So that would be a really good book. If you're trying to get into mindfulness, that would be a really good book to give you the reason to be mindful. Right? And it's not going to tell you how to be mindful, but it will give you the reason to be mindful. And that is the important part. Mindfulness is very simple. It's basically paying attention. It's being conscious to your everyday, and it's not just paying attention to the world around you. You're good at that, right? Your hypervigilance has got that covered. But this is also about being conscious of your own experience. And that one we kind of suck at oftentimes, right? So, This is about being present to yourself and your physical experience of the world, which, oftentimes we'll dissociate because we're uncomfortable, right? So we dissociate your physical experience of the world, your emotional experience of the world, your spiritual experience of the world. All of these things have to come into play in order for you to be in a mindful state. And so you have to be in a beingness state, not a doingness state, right? And so when I say doingness, let me define those. So beingness is the experience of being where you are. Doingness is I'm getting this thing done. It's up in your head. And you feel the difference in the energy I just gave you, right? Because it's it's doing this. There's a staccato energy to it, right? It's like whereas beingness is more flowing and more grounded and more just being in an accepting state of whatever is, right? And so when you're in judgment, you are not in beingness. When you're in your head, you are not in being. So beingness is being present and embodied. And that is where the mindful state comes from. And when I say mindful, I'm not talking your head. I'm talking about your observer mind in that experiential state. That makes sense, Josh?
It makes sense. You weave that well.
All right. Just making sure I made my point. And with that, we're going to say, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And thank you. Thank you for listening. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you. And remember that what you focus on expands. What you intend is what you create. So choose wisely.